Good morning. So, we had some water damage at our house. Never trust your refrigerator ice maker. Never trust your refrigerator ice maker, not even yourself. So we've had weeks and weeks of work done on the house, and to the point that we've been out and in hotels and stuff, so not a lot of fun. Plus a lot of running around and a lot of stress, and still have to come back home for stuff. But now we're back for a bit, so that's much better. So anyone with orders, those orders will be going out today. With my apologies. I'm actually not sure how some people have ordered, because I've shut down my PayPal access on the website, and people keep PayPaling me money somehow. Some kind of elite hacker syndicate trying to buy my keyboards. So if you guys have preferred payment methods or alternative payment methods, let me know. I'm not very happy with PayPal, and to be fair, it's kind of a long time coming. So there's still Bitcoin purchases on there right now, but I don't know what else. There's a lot of options, but I don't really know of them. Like, as an American, there's not really. This is like Square, and there's a couple other ones, but as far as I'm concerned, they're not too much different from PayPal. I shouldn't say that. Well, anyways, if you have an alternative payment method that you would prefer, or just a payment method that you use normally online, I'd like to hear about it. So, there has been significant progress on MikeMike, to the point that we're getting pretty close to this being something that's very, very usable. As it stands, there's still, the previous version, there was a lot of caveats to it, and I'll be sending out upgrade hex files, I guess, upgraded software to anyone that already has one. But now it saves the macros through power cycles. It has combination keys, so you can press special keys, which are like control, alt, backspace, return, things like that, and do combination, control C, stuff like that. So mostly it was really good for mouse movements. I've also improved the mouse movement, so you have a little bit more control over the step, because the step, if the step's too big, then you can't be fine with the pointer when you get it to where you want it to be. But if the step's too small, then it takes forever for the mouse to slowly move its way over when you're defining it. You still only have to define it once, but well, I shouldn't say that. You had to define it once. Now that it saves, you can redefine it pretty easily. The problem I ran into was fitting it into the was it 16K or something? I forget how much space it has. So I've been juggling data in order to keep things so that they fit on the Pro Micro. So that's been kind of interesting and fun and instructive, because it just gives me insight into what needs to be improved for the next version. So MikeMike can do keyboard taps, combination keys, mouse moves and clicks, and it saves all that output after you click the save button, choose the save button. Given how short I am on memory space in there, I'm not sure. The plan was to get a OLED display of some kind on there, so that I could get the readout directly, like visually you can read it on MikeMike. And I think what's going to happen is this is going to be kind of a professional's MikeMike, like I don't want to say difficult, but like higher level access MikeMike. That's much more tweakable, but has more limitations. it'll also be quite simple, obviously, since you can make it with a Pro Micro and 6 buttons. But I'm going to make one out of the Raspberry Pi Pico, I think, because that one has more room and more speed and should be able to handle more everything, actually, because, like I said, I kept bumping into the limitations of the amount of flash, not flash space, the amount of SRAM that it had. So, not really much of a way around it. If you've got, you want it to be verbose, you want it to have instructions, you want it to be readable and usable, and all that stuff takes up space. This vlog is sponsored by Lipton Cold Brew tea, iced tea. It's just a bunch of large tea bags that you can, it's labeled cold brew tea, and you just get like one of those gallon pickle jars. You fill it up with water, and you drop in a couple, and you close it up, and you put it in the refrigerator, and hey presto, you've always got delicious iced tea, unsweetened iced tea. Sweet tea is such a, or even tea, it's such a thing in the South. You never quite know. Never quite know what people are saying when they say they want a tea, or you want a tea, that means sweet tea. Sweet tea obviously always means sweet tea, but sometimes you have to specify unsweet tea. So ordering at a fast food place, and I wanted unsweet tea, and he said, "Are you saying unsweet tea or a sweet tea?" I was like, those do kind of sound the same. Non-sweetened tea. Sans sweet. Sans sweet. Sounds like we're speaking French or something, I don't know. Just wore out. So that's been interesting. I've also been spending more time in Fourth and figuring out, it's just, I don't know, I'm just like a programmer now. Like, I didn't think of myself as a programmer before. It's like, I don't even know what I don't know what I am, like a technologist or something, I'm not sure. It's all just very interesting to me at this point. And now I'm like, let's look at CPU architectures. That's kind of neat. Let's look at all these retro computers and how they're put together. That's kind of cool. How did they design within these limitations? And how can we simulate that today? And there's a relatively... I'm sorry. Everyone's tuning in for this throat clearing action. The Raspberry Pi Pico, actually, at 133 megahertz, is capable of generating an a VGA output. So before that, there was like a FabGL 32 ESP32 board that was doing some interesting stuff. But I think the Raspberry Pi Pico probably is going to have more support going forward, hopefully. I didn't understand the Pico for a long time, and then I actually read the documentation, read the datasheet on it, and I was like, oh, this is I get it now. This is valuable. This is useful. I get what you're doing here. So there's also the 100 Rabbit team. They've generated a so they work on a boat, essentially, for the most part, and they find themselves out in the middle of nowhere, and when they can't, not middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Atlantic, and when they need to Pacific, actually, sorry, when they need to download something, or they realize they forgot something, it's like, oh, I need something to help me do this, I'll just download it off GitHub. No, there's no satellite uplink for them to do that. So they usually just wound up writing their own tools. And when you're writing your own tool, you build it to simple specifications. So you also try to make it, mostly cross-platform by simplifying the interface and everything. You're not doing anything fancy or specific to certain hardware. So they had these simple devices, and then when they switched devices or updated or switched architectures, they'd be like, okay, we'll now have to rewrite this for that, which is still impressive. It's still good. But they realized that a better solution to that is a virtual machine. So they built a virtual machine called UXN, and it's actually a Forth-based system that's designed with, I think you had like a 14K limit on ROMs or something like that. That might be self-imposed, but basically creating a virtual machine so that you build stuff and then generate bytecode, and then you build apps. Apps is, I hate the word apps, but ROMs is actually the better word for it. Imagine a Game Boy cartridge where the virtual machine is just interfaced to the screen, and the inputs, the buttons, the keyboard input, and the audio output. And you load different cartridges, as in different ROMs, into that virtual system. And then all you do is you build the application for that virtual system. You build the text editor, or the graphics designer, or the vector graphics builder. Build it for that system. And then you just port when you come up with a new system, you just port the virtual machine, and then, hey presto, all your ROMs work on that new piece of hardware. What was also particularly interesting was that they, I was looking into it. They made a like a graphics program, and they showed it being built on or being used on the Game Boy DS. I was like, they ported the virtual machine to the Nintendo DS, which means they can do like they're also heavy in music, so they do like build music, build a tracker program, build a graphics program, and probably actually build a text editor there too. And the touchscreen on the bottom can be a keyboard. You can tap out your keyboard inputs. That's just really cool. And now you've got your Nintendo DS that you can, I was going to say easily, but moderately easily, develop applications for. UXN is a very interesting product, and the design philosophy meets perfectly with what I'm getting into and what I'm interested in, which is limitation computing. I guess it sounds dumb to say it, but like computing is an art form. Simplifying things. You're pulling out the bloat. You're making things very purpose-built, purpose-driven, and also, by the way, quick to develop. So that you have this opportunity to reintroduce people to computing and get them to develop their own applications separate from other people in like kilobytes of space rather than gigabytes. That's pretty cool. I just said that, and that is one of my design goals. However, accessibility is not something I'm even sure is a good thing at this point. Because people are, people are using computers and they don't understand computers, and they're being taken advantage of by the people who do understand computers. And that's wrong and bad and pretty much evil. So helping people to get away from the system that takes advantage of them, while still enabling and empowering them to use computing to help their daily lives, to improve their station, or how much work they have to do, or how much work they don't have to do. Still important to me. We're going to give MikeMike a run through its paces today at work. So we'll get all those new features tested out in the real world. So I'll catch you all later. I don't know. Bye.